I mean, that's something you're born with, right? You could always sing.
No, no,
No?
like, honestly, man, I didn't have talent. This is me at 14 singing this, and I got successful at 19.
Oh, here we go.
I think I took too much. I'm addicted to your touch.
You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Let me hear a little more.
It's 2005 and Ed Sheeran is 14 years old. His voice cracks on high notes, he can't dance, and he's not going to turn heads on handsomeness alone. Join us as we dive deep into how Ed Sheeran went from an awkward music fanatic to one of the most popular artists on the planet. Believe it or not, even in this unpolished, voice-cracking stage, Ed had already made remarkable strides compared to where he started. Let's rewind a bit further to get some context. He was born Edward Christopher Sheeran and grew up in a small English town called Framlingham. He was raised in an artistic family where his parents encouraged him to draw and to play piano. However, when he was just 6 years old, a minor dermatology procedure changed everything.
I was a very weird child, and I had a port wine stain birthmark on my face. I got lasered off when I was very young, and one day they forgot to put the anesthetic on.
They literally hurt you so bad when they were trying to burn this thing off that it caused you to stutter.
And I also had very, very big blue NHS glasses.
Ed would spend much of his childhood feeling socially isolated and lacking confidence. Even learning something as cool as the cello did little to improve his popularity. But when he was 9 years old, he received a gift that created an unimaginable turn of events.
And my uncle bought me the Marshall Mathers LP, and by learning that record and rapping it back to back to back to back, it cured my stutter, and I stopped, talking like that.
With a newfound gratitude towards the power of music, Ed swapped his cello for a guitar and began practicing like a madman. When he was 11, Ed attended a meet and greet with one of his favorite artists, singer-songwriter Damien Rice, who told him he should start writing his own songs. The very next day, Ed did just that, writing his first song titled Typical Average. Back to where we started. Ed is 14 years old and he's just recorded his first 5 songs on an EP called The Orange Room, which included Typical Average and Addicted. Ed's infatuation with music gave him a boldness few possessed. He fearlessly campaigned for opportunities to perform, often traveling hours just to play a small gig. When one of his favorite bands came through town, most fans might have settled for an autograph or a quick photo, but not Ed.
Had any strange fans stalking?
Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran was like a really super intense fan back in the day. Like he would just be coming up after games like, oh, I want to rap battle you.
This is Nizlopi, a folk pop duo consisting of John Parker and Luke Concannon. They had recently broke out with a #1 hit in the UK called the JCB song.
JCB and Bruce Lee's nunchuckers.
Ed's enthusiasm and persistence made an impact on the duo, who eventually invited him on tour.
I went on tour with him doing guitar teching and learned everything there is to know about performing, writing songs, singing, playing guitar, everything.
And even performing as their opening act on occasion. In the words of John Parker, he opened up a show for us in Norwich and had the whole audience in the palm of his hand. I said to Luke, oh, we've created a monster here. Ed became more determined than ever to pursue a career as a musician and set the lofty goal of one day selling 100 CDs.
I don't know if I'm meant to plug them, but I do have CDs on sale and they do pay for my food.
When he was 16, Ed played a small gig at a music festival near his hometown where he caught the eye of Ian Johnson, a professor at a school in London called Access Creative College. Johnson said it was clear he had something special, so I emailed the contact at a management company who put him on their roster. Now connected to a management company that can help him book gigs, he made plans to drop out of school and move to London. When Ian Johnson found out about this, he convinced Ed to enroll at ACC. Ed immersed himself in the school's artist development program, winning a competition the school put on each year called Next Big Thing. With The Next Big Thing proudly displayed on his resume, Ed's management company booked him an audition for a musical drama series called Britannia High.
After a grueling first-round audition, just 40 young performers were considered talented enough to make it to the next stage.
Darling, I've been waiting for you.
While his singing and guitar playing impressed the producers,
his voice is classic rock singing. Acting and dancing, who knows?
They felt he wasn't enough of a complete package.
Not even an option.
So, he ultimately didn't get cast on the show.
And Georgina Hagan.
Georgina and Matthew were cast, and the first stars of Britannia High.
I don't think anyone could say that they didn't want the part and they weren't hoping to get the part, because everyone wants to do as much as the next person.
While many would be crushed by this kind of rejection, the now 18-year-old Ed pressed on, doubling down on writing music and playing every gig he could find. When he couldn't book a gig, he resorted to busking on the streets, often dealing with hecklers and teenagers knocking over his donation box. Ed soon struggled to afford rent at his student apartment, so he moved out and started couch surfing. On many occasions, he even slept on a subway or on a park bench outside Buckingham Palace. Ed was in desperate need of a record deal if he wanted to break out of the starving musician cycle. But in the words of his manager, John O'Ball, he was a hard sell for the major labels. Here's a ginger kid who raps with a guitar. That's not a good start. Ed played over 300 gigs in 2009 and was rejected by countless labels. Ed's go-to at the time was a song called You Need Me, I Don't Need You.
I'm gonna sing this now.
At its core, the song is about staying true to yourself as an artist despite pressure to conform to a music industry ideal. But Ed would frequently revise lyrics to reflect new experiences and frustrations.
I will pass and I didn't go to brick school. I came past with the way I act right. I can't last if I'm smoking on a black pipe.
This process of reinvention ensured he always played the song with passion and conviction, which resonated with his audience. You Need Me is kind of my calling card, he has said. It's never failed, anywhere. If I'm having a tough show, I do that song and it turns things around.
You need me, man.
While the song was a crowd favorite when he performed, it had still yet to reach any mainstream success, but that was about to change. While Ed had been busy playing gigs and perfecting his craft, another British teen, Jamal Edwards, was pouring his energy into a different passion, building a YouTube channel called SBTV.
SBTV!
The channel focused on promoting rising stars in the grime scene, a fast-growing genre blending EDM and hip-hop. By early 2010, Jamal had grown SBTV into an influential platform, regularly pulling in tens of thousands of views per upload and featuring prominent UK rappers like Wiley, Dizzy Rascal, Chipmunk, Sloppy Moses, okay, maybe not that last one. When Jamal happened to see Ed performing live, he knew he had to have him on the channel.
It's kind of a breakout for me because I mainly filmed grime and rap. So when I filmed a folk kind of singer who was MCing, rapping and playing a beatbox and guitar, it was like, whoa, who's this ginger kid?
In February 2010, Jamal invited Ed to his studio to perform a live recording of You Need Me for SBTV.
Musically, I'm demonstrating. Whenever I form loud, feels like I am meditating. Times in the studio when SBTV film me. Young singer rises like a Gabriella, chill me.
Ed ended up putting on a mind-blowing acoustic performance that exceeded Jamal's expectations. From then on, Ed and Jamal were inseparable. Not only did Ed gain a best friend, but the video was an instant hit, racking up over 20,000 views in just a couple of weeks and introducing Sheeran to a whole new audience. As soon as I did SBTV, they all started contacting me, Sheeran said, referring to countless artists and producers who reached out to collaborate. The most prominent being an influential producer in the grime scene named Jake Gosling, who would end up producing a significant portion of Ed's future work. Given all the positive feedback he'd been receiving, Ed felt he might be on the cusp of something big, so he bought himself a one-way ticket to LA to see how his material would fare in the States. With only $800 to his name, his time in LA would be short unless he could find more work. As fate would have it, one of the first gigs he booked was at a club in Inglewood called the Savoy, where Jamie Foxx's manager happened to be that night. In a continuing theme, Jamie's manager was super impressed by Ed's performance and booked him to perform at a seedy strip club called the Foxhole. Wait, no, that can't be right. Oh, it's a radio show. Okay, that makes much more sense.
You need me, man, I don't need you.
Thank you.
Ed Sheeran, an Apollo legend.
From there, Jamie invited Ed to play an open mic night at a club he owned in Hollywood.
So I took him down to this show that I was doing, a live night every Monday in LA, and it was like 800 black people. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Sheeran. He pops out. With a little red hair and a ukulele. And it was just like a movie. I said, well, let's see what the kid has. And he went out there on that ukulele, got a standing ovation in 12 minutes.
Ed again wowed the audience with his go-to song, You Need Me. After the performance, Foxx put him up in one of his guest bedrooms while Ed continued to pursue opportunities in LA.
Being able to fly to LA with nothing and end up at one of the biggest movie stars in the world's house, in my mind I was like, well, I must have something.
But he didn't want to overstay his welcome, so after several weeks, he returned home to the UK. Still unsigned to a record label, Ed got to work on his 5th EP, where each track was a collaboration with a popular UK grime artist. Boosted by its lineup of established artists and its unique sound, the EP called Number 5 Collaborations Project was Ed's biggest success yet, topping the UK iTunes chart in a matter of weeks, a nearly impossible feat for an unsigned artist. One of the most popular tracks on the album was a reworking of a song about a woman he met at a homeless shelter a year prior.
They say she's in the class 18.
Originally called The A-Team, but retitled Little Lady for the album and featuring rap verses by Mikill Pane.
To have a single daughter with the upper hand. Little does she know you're never coming back. She put you in her brother's hands, only for him to formulate another plan.
Finally, record labels simply couldn't ignore Ed any longer, and in January of 2011, he signed a deal with Asylum Records. After careful deliberation, the label felt that the original solo version of Little Lady would serve as the perfect single to introduce Ed to the world, so they swapped it back to the A-Team. With the powerful backing of a record label, the A-Team was soon picked up by radio stations around the world. Turning it into the 8th biggest song of 2011, it sold 800,000 copies that year and was met with resounding critical acclaim. Fans of the A-Team were hungry for more, so the label had Ed release another single, a polished version of his old faithful, You Need Me, I Don't Need You. With skyrocketing demand from his newly acquired fan base, Ed quickly got to work on his debut album, Plus, which he released in September of 2011. Anchored by the popular singles he had released earlier in the year, along with other instant hits,
And out of all these things I've done, I think I love you better now.
the album was an incredible success, selling millions of copies worldwide. Ed gained further exposure, joining Taylor Swift on her Red Tour, along with many other collaborations. From there, Ed would follow up the success of Plus with 4 more albums in the Mathematics series, winning countless awards and becoming one of the most commercially successful artists in the world. Possibly the cherry on top of it all is the fact that he's since gone on to headline multiple shows at Buckingham Palace, a surreal contrast to the nights he slept on park benches right outside the building. From a shy kid with a stutter to one of the most popular artists of all time, Ed Sheeran's story of grit, dedication, and perseverance is as remarkable as it is inspiring.